Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess we get straight into it. So today we're gonna talk about Rainbow, and we're gonna talk about the first half of Rainbow.
Yep.
So it's gonna be the Dio era, the three
Yep.
albums that Dio was featured on, and then we're also gonna talk about Down to Earth, which was the Graham Bonnet album.
Yeah. So
Uh,
essentially, we're going to do the 70s.
yeah, exactly. Rainbow in the '70s could probably be a good title for this video.
Yeah.
So yeah, before Rainbow started, Dio, his like first band was the band Elf because it has had many iterations and many other names, Ronnie and the Red Caps and all those, and the Prophets and all these different names. But
And he
eventually,
sang all different kinds of music too. It was like
yeah,
doo-wop and like stuff you had never. I never heard any of it until after Dio passed away. Then you started seeing all these clips, and you'd barely know it was him.
yeah. And for the longest time, I had no idea about like this album or any of the other Elf albums and what he did before. But most of the things before this album is extremely hard to find. You can only like find stuff on YouTube and bootleg stuff. Some collectors have like early singles with Dio on them from like the '60s. That's really cool stuff, but that's not the type of music I'm into. But I think this is the first like proper Ronnie James Dio album, and I think it's very interesting, very different to everything else he did later. But yeah, I like this kind of like boogie type rock stuff. But yeah, most of this lineup then turned into later the Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow.
Yeah.
So I think they replaced the guitar player, if I'm remembering correctly, with Richie Blackmore, obviously. And also, there was another guy that passed away, I think, from the original Elf lineup or something. Um,
Uh, I think what happened. It's Craig Gruber. Was the original bass player, and he's on the Rainbow album too. But he died in 1987. His home was broken into, and he was killed. And I don't think they ever found who did it. It was very sad, very strange sort of post footnote. After that lineup.
yeah,
Um, I'm trying to think of the guitar player's name. I'm not. I should know, but I know that Dio, that Ronnie James Dio had a cousin who was named Rock
yeah, and I think
Feinstein.
that that's the guy that's David Feinstein. I
Yeah,
think he was
he called
called, yeah,
himself. Yeah, he called himself, and
yeah,
he formed a band called the Rods, which were
yeah.
like more of a metal band. Yeah, in the early '80s. So yeah,
So basically, from this album, it's like Mickey Leeso, Gary Driscoll, and Ron James Dio that eventually turned up on this album. So
yeah. I think that was the deal for Ronnie joining, like with Ritchie, to say, look, use my guys for at least one album.
yeah, yeah. So the first Rainbow album, Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow. So at this point, the band wasn't called just Rainbow; it was referred to as Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow. And that's the name of the first album, obviously. And this was released in 1975 originally. And yeah, I think this is also kind of different to the later Rainbow stuff. It's more
Very
in
much.
the vein of like the Elf stuff because most of the members are Elf members. Basically, it's Elf with Richie Blackmore. That's basically this
Yeah.
album. And yeah, I like how different it is. I think the opening track, "Man on a Silver Mountain," is an instant classic, an
Instant
amazing
classic.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the only song. Man of the Silver Mountain is the only song from the Dio era I've ever heard on the radio, on classic rock radio. Like, it's an instant classic. As soon as that riff comes on, and that's a classic Blackmore riff. If you listen to the way that he plays that, he uses that chord progression, and it's a finger picked riff. It's not. He doesn't use a pick on it. I mean, he Burn and Smoke on the Water, and like, he uses those notes in a variety of riffs in different ways. Long Live Rock and Roll. Uh, it's crazy how he's gotten not gotten away with it, but been able to take the same three chords, like
Recycle
finger
it.
picked chords, and keep making different songs on 'em all night long. There's so many different, and there's some that just not coming to my head right now, but it's like he's used those chords and made so many songs out of them. But Man of the Silver Mountain is an all-time classic. But you're right. I mean, it's interesting because Ritchie famously wanted to get out of Deep Purple because he didn't like the
The
sort of
direction.
bluesy direction they were going in, and yet there are songs on here that totally go in that direction.
Yeah, and that's
On
very
the other
strange.
hand, there's songs that point the way forward.
Yep, yep. So yeah, that's actually kind of strange. The point you just made there, that Deep Purple were going more into like, what should we call the direction of like Stormbringer and Come Taste the Band. It was not more like, not bluesy, but
Was some of it was more R&B, because I mean
R
you
and B.
had
Yes.
Coverdale and especially Glenn Hughes really liked singing in those styles.
Yeah.
So although they would have hard rocking songs at this point, there'd also be album tracks that would totally kind of throw you for a loop, and you're like, that's Deep Purple,
Yeah.
you know.
And basically on Stormbringer, the only like really heavy and cool track is the title track for me.
The
The
title
rest,
song, Lady Double Dealer's pretty heavy, but
yeah,
yeah, but most of it's pretty laid back, like Hold On and Love Don't Mean a Thing, and like, yeah, it's Stormbringer's not an album I go to a lot. There are some good songs on it, but it's definitely not as driving as Burn was.
yeah. I think Come Taste the Band is an excellent album. I
Me
think
too.
that's, yeah,
Yeah, Come Taste the Band is a completely, a good Deep Purple sounding album, and like we said, when we talked about the early Whitesnake, it's a good primer for the early Whitesnake. So now in 1975, you've got the Rainbow album and Come Taste the Band
yep,
coming out at the same time. One thing I think is interesting, and I don't have the CD in front of me, I got the 8 tracks out, but the copyright on this says 1975 Deep Purple Overseas Limited,
yep,
because they're still under that management banner, and they're still under the Purple Records logo, at least for the time being.
yeah. Even though they're signed to Polydor Records, which is, I had an
Yeah.
original copy. There was Polydor, and there was also Oyster, I think was the,
Oyster, yeah, Oyster. There's a couple albums to follow that they use that Oyster, and I've never seen that Oyster imprint on anything else.
yeah,
And another cool thing is that if you look closely at this castle, there's actually a guitar
yeah,
pointed upwards. Yeah, you can see the guitar neck. So some people call this a, a Stratocaster.
yeah,
I've heard it called, but
yeah, yeah.
and I've also heard it said. I've never actually tried this, but if you take the cover of this, and then you take the cover of Stormbringer, the rainbow in it makes a complete arc between the two of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I don't know if that was intentional or not, but
Interesting. I've never heard that before. So yeah. So yeah, we talked about first track, Man on Silver Mountain, excellent track, instant classic. One of the most memorable Rainbow tracks for me. I think it's incredible. The second track I really like very much. It's a more like deep track and album track, but I think Self Portrait is amazing. I like it very
Self
much. I
Portrait.
like
Yeah,
Ronnie's voice on it. The beginning of it, paint me a picture and hang it on your wall, and all those. I think it's really, really good. And I
yeah.
like when it sings down, 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 and all those parts of the song sounds excellent. A bit different because we're so used to Ronnie like screaming and having a more like growly voice. I think on this album he sounds very clean in his
Yeah,
like
you really,
vocals.
yeah,
He doesn't have
you
too
really
much
get a lot
raps.
of, yeah, you get a lot of his actual singing voice.
Yeah,
And then right around this time, like for Deep Purple fans, diehard Deep Purple fans know this, but when Roger Glover did that album, The Butterfly Ball,
yeah,
um, with all the guest stars on it, you can go on YouTube if you type in Roger Glover, "Love Is All." It's a song with a little animated video. Well, it's from the Butterfly Ball movie, I guess. And it's this frog that's walking around singing to people, but it's Ronnie's voice, and it's very melodic. Like, I mean, it could have been a hit single, like if it had been promoted.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you do get a little taste of that. And Self Portrait is a very musically it's different, but it's lyrically it's very Dio because it's sort of enigmatic. You don't, you're not really sure what it's about. Is it sort of like Portrait of Dorian Gray? Like, is it sort of magical? Like, um, and is it a ballad? It's not really a rocker, but I guess you could call it maybe a dark ballad. I don't know, but it's really good.
Yeah. Agreed. Then the next track, Black Sheep of the Family, this is more like a honky tonk type of, more in the vein of like Elf and even stuff before Elf. And
Yeah.
also, this is a cover, right?
Quatermass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this song, this was Ritchie's justification for wanting to, I guess. I think initially Rainbow was never meant to be another band, but it turned into it. But he really wanted Deep Purple to cover this
Yep.
Quatermass
Yep.
song, and they didn't want to do it.
Yep.
And so he's like, "Fine, I'll get some other guys and do it." And yet I listened to it, and it's really not that spectacular of a song. Like, it's not one that was begging to be covered, but in typical Blackmore fashion, the story that's built around is like, well, this is the reason he formed Rainbow, and it's like, I don't get it. If he wanted to do songs, more like Man on the Silver Mountain, and Deep Purple didn't want to, I get that. If he wanted to move in a different direction, but this is moving backwards. There's really nothing special. There's nothing bad about it, but there's nothing special about it. So of all the songs that would have, broken up this class, the Mark II Deep Purple lineup, I would never have thought Black Sheep of the Family had what it took. It's
Yep.
but I guess it's a thing where he got the idea in his head and he wouldn't let it go. So I mean, it's fine. To me, this song, it's a B-side. You know what I mean? Like, it's the
Yeah.
type of song. It's a song you'd expect to hear on like the 30th anniversary reissue. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, well, this is one that they recorded during the sessions but never ended up on the album.
Yeah.
Not a focus track.
Yeah. And actually, if you don't like rock and roll, it gives me the exact same impression because I'm not too fond of that song either. I think it's
No, if you don't like rock and roll, that could be Bachman Turner Overdrive. I mean, that's just a basic boogie. That could be Molly Hatchet. Like, it doesn't sound
very
anything
generic.
at all like. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's just run of the mill. It could be Bob Seger or name a generic 70s, not a hard rock band, but just a rock group from the 70s.
Yeah.
Anybody could do that song. It could be on one of the early Eagles albums. Like, it's just it just and it's weird to hear such a basic song with Ronnie's unmistakable vocals on it.
Yep.
It's like, we have an expression over here where we say, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not, you're dressing up. It doesn't, there's just not enough there to maintain the interest. I mean, like, if Dio can't sell it with his vocals, then it's not much of a song.
Yeah, and I think the other expression in the UK is like polishing a turd or something like that.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
still a turd. So
You can't make, yeah, you can't make, there's no, you can't, there's no diamond under there. There's no
yeah,
diamond in the rough. It's just, yeah, it's a throwaway.
yeah. The next one, Catch the Rainbow, is definitely a highlight for me. I love this song so much, and it's very much expanded on the On Stage album.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Here it's like 15 minutes long. And to be honest, I love like the parts that's not too much noodling on this. I
Hmm.
think there are some
Yeah,
parts there just goes on for too long, and there are some
yeah.
parts on this album that are very very quiet, and
Yeah, I
there's
don't know. I don't know if we
basically
wanted to
nothing going
talk
on.
about this. Yeah, I don't know if you wanted us to talk about this album, but yeah, this is not an album that
Yeah, we can talk
I
about it
revisit.
just briefly, just
Yeah,
mention it. But
but yeah, it's definitely, you could kind of tell that it was going to be a song that they would really stretch out live
yeah,
because it lends itself to that.
yep,
Great vocals from Ronnie, and his lyrics are really coming into what you'd expect
yeah,
Ronnie James Dio lyrics to be.
Yeah,
very poetic, but very sort of gothic.
yeah. And I love just how calm it is, and it's kind of progressive in some ways, not totally, but in
Yeah,
some ways it's kind of progressive. And yeah, I think Ronnie's voice sounds amazing on this one. I like how different he sings on this song. Another example of how different he sings during the Rainbow era is Rainbow Eyes on Long Live Rock
exactly.
and
Yeah.
Roll. That
Hmm.
one song we will come to later, but I don't think he ever sounded like that again. And I think Catch the
No,
Rainbow is also kind of an example of that. So
yeah. Yeah, this it's great versatility for his voice. I mean, this album is a good showcase for what it's like a it's almost like a catalog of what Ronnie James Dio's voice can do.
yeah, and it's kind of like what this album is kind of like what he did before and what he will come to do. So this is really a
Yeah,
transitional album, I think,
yeah, very
because the
much.
next one is just so different to this one.
Yeah.
So and
Yeah,
I
this album's not nearly as heavy as it might have looked
yeah,
in the racks in 1975, and for people expecting the next thing Ritchie Blackmore was doing, if you heard two or three songs from it, you would probably think, "Oh yeah, this is going to be the one." You had to wait one more album for it.
yeah. And I actually think this is like the last album in this sort of style that Ronnie ever was part of. Because then he
Yeah.
just moved into this like heavy metal and hard rock thing. So but
Yeah, personnel I think has a lot to do with it too, like the musicians behind him.
yeah, because this was like most of the Elf guys was like his childhood friends, and they loved doing
Yeah,
this sort of music. So because then Ritchie like kicked them out for the next album, and then I think Ronnie just totally changed his style and adapted to what
it's
Ritchie wanted. So
yeah, it's really interesting when you think about it because this album is essentially Elf with a new guitarist.
mm,
Well, look what Deep Purple did. Come Taste the Band is Deep Purple with a new guitarist.
yep,
It's basically the same thing. It's the only thing that changed from the album before was the guitarist.
yep, and that's very interesting because both these albums were released the same year,
Same
and it's the
year and
same
by the
type of thing.
same
Yeah, that's
yeah,
interesting.
same management, not the same label around the world, but the same sort of it's all released under the deep at this point still under the Deep Purple banner. Like you're going to see like that Deep Purple overseas on it. So he hasn't extricated himself from that just yet. He was probably working on it.
Yep, yep. The next track, Snake Charmer. I'm not too fond of this one. I think it's okay. It's all right. Ronnie's voice, as always, sounds very, very good. I just think the chorus is kind of weak, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think it really hits that hard. And yeah, not too big of a fan of Snake Charmer, but yeah,
Going into it, you'd think, oh, Snake Charmer, this is going to be a heavy one. This is going to be really, because it just sounds like something that you'd expect out of Dio and Blackmore. But yeah, it doesn't live up to its title.
yep. Now, the next one I'm a huge fan of. I love the Temple of the King. I think both Catch the Rainbow, Temple of the King, those are like the two most calm tracks on the album. And I love them both. I think Temple of the King, just with that acoustic guitar in the beginning. And again, Ronnie sounds also different on this song than most of
Yeah.
the other ones in his career. And yeah, I think it's kind of mystical and with the lyrics and all that. He loves exploring these like medieval type of lyrics and with the kings and queens and all that. That comes
Oh yeah.
later with Black Sabbath on Heaven and Hell and all that. So
And also Kill the King, and
yeah,
also, I mean, it also like Ritchie Blackmore with his Renaissance, they both seem like some people that would have rather lived in another time.
yep, yep, very true. And also Ronnie also does a track on a Carrie Livgren album, which is called "Live for the King."
To live for the king,
To
that's
live for
right.
the
Yeah.
king, yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
people
also a
haven't
great
heard
one.
that. Yeah, Carrie Livgren, obviously. I mean, I'm a huge Kansas fan, so Ronnie does two songs on there,
Mask of
"To
the
Live
Great
for the
Deceiver
King."
also.
Yeah,
Yep,
and if you want to hear like, it's like Ronnie's voice as it would have been like on Heaven and Hell, but basically singing over. Those could have been Kansas songs, but with Dio on vocals, they're both very cool songs.
yep. Or those songs could have fitted maybe on this album or another
Yeah,
Rainbow
very
album.
much. And that also brings into it there's that touch of prog rock
Yep,
a little bit.
yep. So yeah, I covered If You Don't Like Rock and Roll before. I don't know if you had anything else to say about that one, but
No, there's not much else to say.
no,
It's strict to me. That's an instant B-side.
yep, true. Now, this next track is kind of like a fan favorite and became like a live staple for the band. 16th Century Greensleeves. I think it's great. I love it.
Yeah, this
And
is
it
pretty. Yeah,
and it's
the
interesting that
best songs. No, go ahead.
this is the only lyrics that are like shown in the
Yeah,
sleeve also.
bands bands would do that sometimes. I mean, like, Led Zeppelin did that with the fourth album with Stairway to Heaven being the only
Yep,
lyrics printed. I mean, even the original cassette I had of Def Leppard's Pyromania, they only had the lyrics to Photograph, but
yep,
it's almost like they picked one track to highlight. But yeah, really the best songs on this album could have been from the next album. The
yep,
best songs on this album were like, hey, people seem to really like these ones. Let's make a whole album of songs like
yep,
that.
yep. Very true. And the same goes for this album. This is like the Stargazer are the only lyrics featured in that sleeve too. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah. The last one, Still I'm Sad. And this one also, Ronnie added lyrics to it on the live versions. But this is instrumental on this album. I think it's quite good. I think
The
it's,
Yardbird song,
yeah,
right? It's a yeah.
I think it's all right. I don't know about ending the album with an instrumental. I think it works okay, but I would have liked to seen something else end the album. But
Yeah.
it's been for this for like this for so many decades now. So and I've been a fan of this album for like 5, 6, 7 years. So I'm used to it ending like that. But yeah, I think they could have
And
chosen something else to end it with.
And also, I mean, Ritchie obviously really liked this song because they redid it many years later on
Yep.
Stranger in Us All. So he's obviously got an affinity for that song. The Yardbirds are a band that influenced so many bands that came after them. I mean, Aerosmith and I mean, obviously the personnel in the Yardbirds. You had, Clapton, and then you had Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page. But I mean, Train Kept a Rollin', Heart Full of Soul, Shapes of Things has been done countless times. So the Yardbirds are an interesting band because they were kind of ahead of their time. It's almost like they were sowing the seeds for the heavy rock, even though they didn't exactly play heavy rock. But it makes sense that Ritchie would have wanted to do a song by somebody like that. But yeah, it's interesting that he led upon that one.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I like the debut now more than I used to. Like I used to just kind of dismiss it as, okay, well, it's got Man on the Silver Mountain and 16th Century Greensleeves, and that's about it. But no, there's more to it there. It's just when you think about what came after, the two that came after, it's not nearly as heavy, and oddly enough, it's the only one of the Dio era Rainbow albums that charted on Billboard in the U.S. None of the Rainbow albums ever went gold or platinum in North America, but this one actually charted. I suppose it had the most eyes on it, wondering what Ritchie was going to do next
Yep.
after leaving Deep Purple.
Yep.
Because Deep Purple at this point in the U.S. anyway, their album sales were starting to come down. I mean, Machine Head was huge, Made in Japan was huge. After that, everything was sort of gradually coming down, but. Um, yeah, it's just interesting that but so many people were influenced. So many bands were influenced by Rainbow, the whole power metal thing, and
Yep.
in some ways some of the songs would influence the thrash bands. I don't think there's anything on here that influenced the thrash bands, but so many metal bands that came out of the '80s were borrowing from this playbook right here.
Yeah, and even Metallica did like a medley of some of the
The Ronnie
songs from.
Rising medley is
Yep.
really, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Speaking of Rising, the next
yeah.
album, Rainbow Rising, I think this is an incredible album. I think most people would agree that this is the best Rainbow album. But I know Martin Popoff loves the Down to Earth. I think that's a great album too. But yeah, I think Rising for most people is the best one. And yeah, I think it's just amazing. I think the opening track, Terror Woman, just with that keyboard in the beginning with Tony Carey and everything.
Yeah.
And then Ritchie's guitar,
It's
it's just
Yeah,
so cool.
it's such a great first of all, I mean, I want to talk about the cover art. The cover art is
Incredible.
magnificent. I mean, this is the late Ken Kelly, who passed away a few years ago. He also did Kiss Destroyer and Love Gun. Um, he did one of Manowar's albums, which is very much inspired by Destroyer, I'm sure. But yeah, great. Like, as a young a teenager in the '70s, I don't know how you could see that in a record store and not think, oh, I got to buy that.
Yeah.
Now, unlike the first album, this one's going to give you heavy for the time
Yeah.
all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah, Terror Woman is a really good way. I think that I've always said that Deep Purple and by extension Rainbow, any band that came after them that wanted to play hard rock or metal, but they wanted to have a keyboard player, I think they owe a huge debt to John Lord. Um, and to a certain extent Ken Hensley from Uriah Heep, although I'm not as familiar with Heep. But here is a song where you've got, Tony Carey's keyboards, like John Lord in a lot of Deep Purple songs, the heaviness, the bottom end comes from the keyboards.
Yeah.
Yes, Richie's on the top, like you said, but it sounds heavy. It sounds menacing, and it's like, oh, this is going to be cool. And then the late Cozy Powell. It's so sad that a lot of the most of this lineup are no longer with us. You've got Tony Carey and Ritchie Blackmore that are still alive, and that's it.
Yep. Yep. And this is also, I'm not too familiar with Ronnie's history with Jimmy Bain, but I think this was at least the first album that they played together. I
I
don't know.
think so.
I
Yeah,
don't know
I'm
if
not
they
sure
were
what Jimmy
friends
Bain's.
before or anything like that. I'm not sure,
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I don't know Jimmy Bain's past before he started recording, but obviously, yeah, he and Ronnie played together for years
in the
after
year,
this.
yeah,
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 great
yeah,
opener, and it's like the now it's solidified. This is basically what you're going to get when you've got Ronnie on vocals and Ronnie doing the
yeah.
lyrics.
Yep. And if it wasn't for a particular track on this album, the Terror Woman would be my favorite, but it's my second favorite. Um,
It's a great way to start.
yeah, absolutely. Now the second track, "Run with the Wolf," I think it's cool. I think it's all right. And the only thing I don't like about Rainbow Rising is that there's so few tracks and it's super short. I think it's like 35 minutes or something. They could have had two or more tracks on this album, but I think Run with the Wolf is all right. I've never been too much of a fan of it, but yeah, I think it's cool.
It's you really see, I think you really see a difference with the personnel, because if Run with the Wolf is like a halftime shuffle, and if this had been on the first album, it would have been nothing special. But you get Cozy on drums and Tony Carey on the keys. There's just something, and the production is heavier. It turns it into a decent song. Whereas before it would have just been, you kind of wouldn't remember it, but it's got a groove that uh, I don't think you would have had with the Elf guys playing on it. And imagine, like you said about it being, yeah, it is a short album. If anyone's ever had a criticism of it, it's usually the fact that I just wish there was more, another song on each side. Now imagine a world where the first Rainbow album was basically this album plus Man on the Silver Mountain and say 16th Century Greensleeves. What an amazing
Yeah,
album that would have been. And then years later, oh, by the way, they recorded another album but didn't put it out. Here it is. Imagine if that had been, everybody would have been talking about it. And again, it's so weird that this is such a well-respected album and everybody talks about it, and yet it didn't certify in North America. It didn't chart very high, but it's generally considered to be one of the first sort of real heavy, like, um albums of the latter part of the '70s.
yep, absolutely.
Like, there's no ballads on this album, it's all rockers.
Yep, true, very true. You mentioned the production. I think What do you think of like the New York mix versus like the Los Angeles mix? I think those are the two ones available. So because this original mix, I think it's called like the New York mix or something like that. There's like a two CD deluxe version that has a different mix of the album, and I think they called it like the Los Angeles mix or something like that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I've got the same CD you've got there,
Yeah, and this is the
the late
original
90s.
mix.
Yeah. And so I don't know them well enough. It's like it's sort of like, I mean, again, we're in the same sort of Deep Purple family. It's like White Snake Slide It In. There's two different mixes of that.
Yeah,
Well, I'm used to the American one, so that's the one that I prefer. But it's not as much to do with the mix as it is to do with the order of the songs. I'm used to the songs in that order. I'm not used to the album starting off with Gambler. You know what I
I'm
mean?
very used to that.
Um,
I'm used to the UK one.
but
So
yeah, but but you can't help what you've grown up with. But um, I think that, so I can't really speak to that. I think that the original mix of Rising is just fine. I mean, it's well recorded. It is a little bit uh not a lot of treble. It's very bass heavy, but it fits the songs. Like it fits it sounds like what you want these songs to sound like. It's just kind of booming and um yeah. So I really can't speak to the two mixes.
yeah, I actually think it's more like trebly than bass heavy. This album, I think it sounds very flat. There's almost like no bass sound on it. I think Jimmy Bain is buried in the mix.
Well, you're no, what I mean, but when I say it's got about a minute, it's basically the drums. You're
Okay.
right. Like so many albums, the bass is kind of buried.
Yeah, and that
Producers
also,
love to bury the bass.
yeah, and that's also different between the two mixes. So if you listen to the Los Angeles mix, I think it's more, you can hear Jimmy Bain more present in the mix. So that's very interesting. But that's basically the main difference between the mixes. So not a huge difference, but check it out if you want to, because it's an interesting listen. So so yeah, the next song is Starstruck. I love this song. I've always liked it very much. Um, I think the lyrics tell the story of like Ritchie having a stalker or something,
Yeah, yeah.
following him
This girl
around
that
and
would show
everything.
up
Yeah,
everywhere when they were on tour and just stare.
yeah,
Um, and in typical Ronnie James Dio fashion, he made this whole fantastical thing about it, like, she's going to put a spell on him or something, like, uh, don't let her take a picture of you, or else she'll, she can use it to enchant it or something. But it's a great, and it's a song that Starstruck is a song that could have gotten radio play. I
yeah,
mean, it's almost like it's like a heavy ZZ Top song. Like
yeah,
it's a bluesy kind of shuffle, and there's nothing really uh threatening, or there's nothing really heavy metal about it, but it rocks,
yeah. It's a
and
very catchy
it's
song.
it's very catchy, and
Yeah,
Ritchie could write catchy riffs, and the chorus is memorable.
yep,
It's it's got the it's catchy enough so that, like, it could have gotten on the radio. I'm not saying it would have been a huge hit single, but I
I
could
agree.
hear this on the
Yeah,
radio, and I could hear this song, like before some sort of sporting event. I could hear this playing over the PA.
yeah.
It's got that kind of driving beat. And there are some, really cool, there's simple, but really cool little production techniques, like, the way that, she's hooked, 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 one
I
look, look,
echoes.
look,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and they change the order that it's in between verses, which is kind of cool too. To me, that shows they're paying attention and they're really thinking about arrangement. But yeah, great song. Love this one.
I love the lyric in this song. I could fly to the moon, but she soon find a way to be there. I love that lyric. I think it's just, it shows
Yeah,
how um, bad of a problem this really was for Ritchie.
yeah.
So
I've heard tell of this. I mean, this happens with anybody that's famous. You're going to deal, some, and sometimes it's very bad. But in this case, it's almost just weird. It's like,
yeah,
well, what does she want? It's like, and how does she know where we are all the
yeah.
time?
And
How does
nowadays,
she know where we're staying? Which hotel we're in,
yeah,
and because bands go to great lengths to use aliases and be very, you know unless you're Led Zeppelin, in which you don't care and you wreck your hotel. But
Yeah. And back in those days, it really took some effort to actually follow somebody around, and find out where they staying and everything.
yeah,
Nowadays, it's so easy
yeah.
because everyone posts on social media and everything, where they are, what they're doing, and
Oh yeah, you can
so
trace, yeah, you can trace somebody's phone. Or but back then, I mean, and it's like, how can one person know, like, where a touring band is? You can know what cities they're going to if you
yeah,
know the tour dates, but yeah, kind of weird.
yeah, and that kind of makes it extra creepy in some ways. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, that's almost like the creepiness wrote itself into the
yeah,
song, and if anything, Ronnie was trying to make light of it.
yep. The next one, "Do You Close Your Eyes?" This is also a song I'm not that big a fan of. Because I said this is my favorite Rainbow album, and for most people it is, but there's still two tracks, "Wrong with the Wolf" and "Do You Close Your Eyes," that I'm not a huge fan of. But I think the other songs are so good that it actually catapults it up to number one
That's
for me.
that's the general consensus, especially this song. This song could have been on the first album
Yeah,
easily. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if this was a leftover. Lyrically, it doesn't fit at all. This could have been on an Elf album. Musically, it's okay, but yeah, it's interesting that it's so different than anything else. Like, you wish you could go back and sort of extricate a song from the first album and switch places, and just make Rising that much stronger. But it's, I don't know. Maybe this song serves its purpose as like a breather in between the epics, but yeah, I could do without. I could do without this one. I mean, at least "Run with the Wolf" lyrically fits the album, and I think it's a better song than "Do You Close Your Eyes." But
and it's
if
heavier
any other
also.
band came out with this, if any other band had an album and had that song on it, it'd be like, well, that's not bad. It's just that at this point they've raised the stakes. The bar has been set so much higher that a song like this is just
They
eh,
should just move on
not.
from that style.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It doesn't fit. It sounds like the last remnant of the early that earlier sound.
yep. Now the next song has been talked about to death, so there's nothing special I can add to it. But "Stargazer" for me is a perfect song. It's a 10 out of 10 easily.
Yeah,
Probably Ronnie James Dio's best vocal performance ever. Maybe "Mistreated" in the live in Munich in 1977 beats this for me. I think that's just incredible. That's just flawless. But "Stargazer" comes very, very close to
as
that.
far as studio recordings,
Studio
yeah,
recording,
this is
best easily. Vocal
th-
performance. That doesn't.
everybody.
Yeah, that
I was
doesn't
going to say
doesn't mean that
everybody in
this
the
is my.
band is at their maximum, like the peak of their powers on this song.
Yeah, yeah, and that doesn't mean that this is my favorite song of all time with Ronnie James Dio or anything. I think it's definitely a top three. I think maybe "Heaven and Hell" is just number one for me, best song with Dio. But I think "Stargazer" is just incredible. I love the lyrics for this song, talking about this wizard type person and having people or slaves building this tower because he's gonna try to fly. He thinks like he's a god or something. And yeah, this song and some of the instrumentation, especially Ritchie's guitar, gives me almost Arabic or Egyptian type vibes.
And
So
Ritchie was really good at that. I mean, this is their Kashmir. I mean, and so many bands did that because it works. It works most of the time. It really works because it takes you to another place mentally as
yeah,
you're listening. It just takes you to another time, another place. And yeah, I love the lyric because Dio is combining, you know like, ancient history with mythology, with fantasy. And I mean, and this is a tradition that would go on, because I mean, when I think of the lyrics to this song, it reminds me of another band, another song that I absolutely love, Blue Murder's "Valley of the Kings," which is another song that's very much like this lyrically, and kind of musically. It's kind of a slow, heavy one. But even just as soon as it starts with with Cozy Powell's like those drum fills and the hi hats, the pss, pss, pss,
Yeah,
you just know you're in for something epic. You know, before the rest of the band even kicks in, you just know this is going to be really, really cool.
yeah, and that guitar riff from Ritchie, dun, 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 it's just
Yeah.
so good.
It's been
And
covered. It's been covered many times. This was one of the main songs I think that Metallica does in that Ronnie Rising medley. Dream Theater do a really good version of this. And it just lends itself to it. I mean, and I'm sure that this song was one of the main songs that influenced bands that came after. Like, I mean, I can hear how a song like this would have influenced Iron Maiden.
yep, and I think just the guitar solo just rips. And I think
Yeah.
that the guitar solo has like those main parts that remind me of like Middle Eastern type
Yeah,
sounds and
it's the
music.
modes that he's using. He's
Yeah,
not playing. It's not blues progressions. It's not, it's not Western progressions. It's very Middle Eastern.
yep, yeah. So Stargazer for me is a perfect song. It's just incredible. Uh,
That, when Ronnie sings "I See a Rainbow Rising," that's like that gets me every time. I
yeah,
mean, it's
that
just
that
it's like,
gives me chills. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, and also when he sings "My eyes are bleeding" and all those,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
Oh,
so good.
the whole end vamp is just so good. I
Yeah, and
mean,
I think it's
that's
kind
a
of
song that,
emotional also in some ways. I think it's just
yeah,
so
it's a
good.
long song, but it doesn't feel like a long song because you're
Yep,
just along for the ride the whole way.
yep. Now, "A Light in the Black" is also a long song. It's about the same length, so just over 8 minutes. And I don't think "A Light in the Black" is as good as Stargazer for me. There are some people that prefer this over Stargazer, but I don't think it really hits those highs as Stargazer does. I don't think this is as dynamic.
I
It's
think that
kind of
Stargazer should have
repetitive in
closed
some
the album.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Stargazer should have closed the album
yep,
because there's
I
not
agree.
many songs that could better that.
Yep,
A Light in the Black is good. I like the fact that it's fast, um, or at least parts of it. But yeah, you're right. It's a perfectly fine song. It just Stargazer is such an epic. They really should have closed the album with
yep,
Stargazer. It feels like the album's done when Stargazer winds up.
absolutely agreed. So yeah, I have not too much else to say about that song, but yeah, overall this album incredible, great album, and
Yeah.
definitely my favorite Rainbow album. And yeah, this lineup also went on to not the exact same lineup because they changed the bass player, I think,
Yeah,
to
to Mark Clark.
yeah, and also they changed the keyboard player too to this
Yeah,
David Stone or
David
yeah.
Stone. Yeah, David Stone.
So
Yeah, I mean, Deep Purple, Rainbow was an almost constant flux of members.
yeah,
Yeah, I was just pointing out that this is the first one I've seen that has that oyster on it,
yeah, absolutely.
and I've only ever seen that on these Rainbow albums. There might be other ones, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, I've also never seen that on any other uh, albums, just the Rainbow ones. So yeah,
So, do we want to talk about the on stage very briefly before we
yeah,
go into Long
yeah,
Live Rock and Roll?
we
Yeah,
can
okay.
absolutely. Yeah,
Because it's not like there's not a lot of albums to talk about. So
yeah. In the Dio era, just three albums
yeah.
and this live album. So yeah, and also I think there was another live album that they released a bit after. I think in like the 80s or 90s or somewhere
I
like that.
think, yeah, I think 19 is it the live in Munich or
Yeah,
live in Germany anyway. Yeah, I think that came out in 1990. That wasn't in it wasn't a bootleg, but it wasn't officially sanctioned. It just was recordings that were made. But I mean, I think most people agree that on the whole, that's a better listen than the officially released on
yeah,
stage. I mean, this is if you look at the songs and then you look at the lineup, you think, wow, this is pretty good. But then you look at how few songs are on here. To me, this is like, it suffers from it's a 70s thing. It's like Deep Purple's made in Japan, and it's like Led Zeppelin's song remains the same. They just stretch the songs out too much. They
Yeah,
have so many good songs. They could have done most of Rising and then the best of the first album, and they could have really made a really strong live album at this point. It is kind of really premature to do a live album at this point in their career, but um, I mean, because Ritchie had the past with Deep Purple, he dips into that a little bit. I mean, Ozzy did the same thing with Speak of the Devil. So, but yeah, of course, the main thing to me about this album that it is significant is that it premieres. It does
Kill the King.
something that a lot of live albums don't do. It premieres "Kill the King," which would be
Yeah,
on the next studio album. Other than that, honestly I never listened to this album.
yeah. My biggest problem with On Stage is that it doesn't have Stargazer on it. It's just so
Yeah,
strange that they
yeah,
have like Mistreated and other songs, but and also Kill the King, which is was released on this album before even this came out.
yeah.
So I think it's strange that they didn't play Stargazer on this, or maybe they did during the gig, just that they didn't put it on the
Didn't make
album.
the yeah.
So
So yeah,
yeah, very strange.
there are some obviously there's a lot of classic 70s live albums. This is not one of them. I think they've put there's like you said, they've put ones out over the years that kind of make up for this. But when they were a new band and newly recording, they kind of missed an opportunity to add to that classic 70s live album with this because yeah, it's just nothing. And even just titling it On Stage, it's very bland. It's got a cool cover, but um
Yeah, the
and I
cover is
think it is
excellent.
cool that Mistreated was a song that obviously Ritchie Blackmore and David Coverdale were very fond of because Whitesnake did it, as we talked about, and Rainbow did it. So it just became a song that outlasted because there was no Deep Purple during this period, and yet that song was still getting regularly played.
Yeah. And even the songs that are on this album are not the essential ones, the essential versions for me. I think Mistreated, as I mentioned before, the live in Munich in 1977 is the best version for me. This one comes close. It's all right, but I think just Dio stretches out his vocals more on the live in Munich, and yeah, also like Catch a Rainbow, 15 minutes long. So if you have like the vinyl, it takes up the whole side, and I think it's kind of
Yeah,
ridiculous. Too long.
they have that one that's just called Blues. They couldn't
Yeah,
even give it a title.
yeah,
Man on the Silver Mountain is way too fast.
yep,
Way too fast.
yep,
They're not the only band that did that, but it is way too. I bet you it's twice the tempo of the original version.
yeah, yeah.
And I think when you mess with the tempo of a song too much, it's not the same song anymore.
Mm, true. So,
Because
so I,
what makes that song great is the way that it.
the groove
But when
of
you're
it,
doing it that fast, you don't get those spaces in between. Like
yeah,
it sounds like you're watching a video on YouTube, but you've hit like double speed.
yeah, and Tim, it gets even worse when the Dio band plays it live. It's even
Yeah,
faster. So, yeah,
that was
uh,
never meant to be a fast song. That was meant
yeah,
to be a mid-tempo
yeah.
groover.
So I think the highlight on stage is actually 16 century Greensleeves for me.
Yes, that is good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that live version. I think also Still I'm Sad with the added lyrics, I think
yeah,
also works very well. And also it's fun to hear Kill the King also live.
yeah.
But other than that, like all the songs in the middle part of the album is not essential.
Filler. It could have been a single record. That could have been a live album that was on a single record.
Yep, agreed. Now, moving on to Long Live Rock and Roll, which was the last album with Ronnie James Dio on vocals.
Yeah.
And this was released in 1978. This is not an album that I'm a huge fan of, to be honest. I'm way more of a fan of the first Rainbow album than this, which is probably surprising to some people, but because I think most people would say Long Live Rock and Roll, Rising are the two best in the Dio era. But for me, the production on this album really kills it for me. I dislike the production on this very much. I think Rising is okay. The production is all right. It works. But I think this album actually sounds kind of terrible, to be honest.
It's
So
almost like you had the production of Rising, but they threw a blanket over everything.
yep,
It's
yep,
muffled. It's muffled sounding. Yeah, I think you know what? I think I'd agree with that. I think that the highs on the first album are higher than anything on this album, even though there's some good songs on here. But yeah, it doesn't beg for repeat listens the way that Rising does, for
yep.
sure.
I think this album has one huge high, and it's Gates of Babylon. I think that's an
Gates of
incredible song.
Babylon is classic Dio, classic Blackmore. Yeah,
And something very strange, as I mentioned, with the production and the sound of it. Like the first three songs sound as I described. Then you come to Gates of Babylon, and all of a sudden the sound kind of opens up a bit.
yeah.
So
It
it
sounds
feels
different than
like the
everything
budget
else.
went to recording this song. So maybe this song was recorded in another studio or another day or something. They if they like set up the equipment differently. I don't know, but I
Yeah,
think
the mics were in a different spot, or yeah, it doesn't sound like the same session at all.
no, no, it doesn't. It sounds very different. And then Kill the King goes back to that sound again. So,
Yeah,
and I think Rainbow Eyes also sounds kind of good because it's so stripped down. So it
yeah,
doesn't sound muffled or anything like that. It doesn't sound crowded in any way.
yeah,
So, Gates of
yeah,
Babylon and Rainbow Eyes are the only songs I feel sound the same production wise as Rising for
yeah.
me.
I'd agree with that.
So, but yeah, first song, Long Live Rock and Roll. I think it's too repetitive. It's too long. It's 4 minutes and 20 seconds. This could have been a 3 minute song for me,
I think so.
easily.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit repetitive and doesn't need to be. It could be a really good 3 minute song, and if it was a really good, if they did edit it down to a 3 minute song, this is another one that I could hear on the radio, and I might have. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
it's catchy enough. It's just the studio version plays like a live version where you're trying to get the crowd to sing, and it's like we know how it goes. We knew how it goes from the first time you said it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Lady of the Lake is actually kind of good. I like that
Lady of
song.
the Lake is good. It's very, very similar in the riff to Led Zeppelin's The Wanton song from Physical Graffiti. That that sort of octave
Mm.
jumping thing. Dio makes it its own song, but it's really good. It's a pretty typical of the Rainbow period of the time. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it.
And this is kind of Ronnie in his element with the lyrics and everything
Yeah,
like that.
the
So,
fantasy lyrics. Yeah,
yeah. LA Connection, I don't like too much. Also, way too long. It's almost
yeah.
5 minutes long. And yeah, not a huge fan of that chorus.
Not much
I
of
know,
a chorus, really.
yeah, and I'm not a fan of the title either. LA Connection, what's that supposed to mean?
It doesn't sound like a Rainbow song. Apparently, this song was written about Tony Carey,
Okay.
him leaving Rainbow or getting kicked out, or depending on who you ask on any given day. And the really funny thing about this is, of all the songs in this album, there's actually a video for this song.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, you go on YouTube, type in Rainbow LA Connection. There is a video of them in the studio miming to the song. And it's been said different times. Dio was terrible at lip syncing.
Mm,
Like he couldn't even lip sync to himself because he was so used to doing the ad libs.
yeah.
So if you watch real close, they don't really. Yeah, it's interesting. I love finding out that there are videos in the '70s for songs that I didn't know there were videos for. But yeah, of all the songs on this album, they decided to shoot. I wouldn't have done this one.
Also, I know there's a video for Gates of Babylon, but maybe that's a fan made video. I'm not sure. But
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. I
yeah,
think you might be right. Yeah,
but
that
I've
may have
seen
come
a
later.
video
But
for
this
Gates of
one is
Babylon.
definitely of its time.
Yeah. So yeah, so the first three tracks, all right. Lady of the Lake is the highlight of those three, but Gates of Babylon, as I mentioned before, best track on the album for me. I think the opening keyboards are so menacing and
Yeah.
creepy and mystical. And then just when the band comes in and Ronnie sings, just so good. Love the
Great,
lyrics for
great
the song.
keyboards. This is like David Stone's best, I think, moment on the album. I love the keyboard line. Um, I can't recreate it, but the one before, kind of before, basically before the chorus, I
Yeah.
really love that melody that he plays.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about it now. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Like sort
Yeah.
of like that. Yeah, I really like that. And I like the way, I like the tone of it too. It's a really
Yeah.
good, it's just right.
Because it could have easily been super annoying because it goes very high up, but it's not. I
Yeah,
think it sounds really good.
yeah, yeah.
So
They got it. They got the mix right for that in the recording, for sure.
absolutely. Now the next one is Kill the King. I think for most people, Gates of Babylon and Kill the King, which is the middle two songs of the album, are the best ones. And yeah, I would agree with that. I think Kill the King is also a highlight. Very good, very fast song. Um, Again, the lyrics are very fitting for Ronnie. He loves singing this type of lyrics.
Yeah.
And
Now he has said this is about a chess game, but he definitely expanded upon that idea.
yep, yep, absolutely. And the next one, The Shed. I'm not too big of a fan of this song. I think it's kind of forgettable. I often like forget how it goes.
I can't think of how it goes right off the top of my head,
Yeah,
and the title, the shed, and then subtle in bracket does nothing to jog my memory.
yeah, yeah. And I think Sensitive to Light's also kind of generic, as we mentioned on the first Rainbow album. If you don't like rock and roll, I think this is kind of in the same vein. It's kind of forgettable. Now, this is, of course, heavier, but
Yeah, and
I don't like it.
lyrically, I've always, this is almost like a sequel to, or another take at something like Starstruck. Um, Dio would do that. Dio has a lot of Evil Woman lyrics.
Yep.
You know,
Very
in
true.
Heaven and Hell, he's got Lady Evil.
Yep.
He would do that a lot. But yeah, I just must be sensitive to light. It's an interesting lyric. Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. The music is more basic.
Yep. Yep. And I talked about Rainbow Eyes before. I think it's really good. I I think this is a song about his then wife, Wendy Dio,
Yeah.
um, because he described that her eyes sometimes like changed colors and everything. And yeah, that's kind of where the title come from. And yeah, I think, as I said before, he doesn't sound like this ever again. Sounds very
No.
different on the song. Very emotional, very stripped down song. I like the flute playing on this too.
Yeah.
And yeah, a very interesting choice to end the album, I think. Very
I
interesting.
would say a daring choice.
Daring choice, yeah. I think
Yeah.
actually Kill the King could have been a really good closer. Just goes out with a bang. I think that would
Yeah.
have been really cool. So,
Yeah, I agree.
so yeah. So this album is kind of mixed for me. There are some parts I really like, but most of it I don't like, and also the production kills it for me. So even though I like Kill the King and Lady of the Lake, the production on those songs just terrible. As I said, Gates of Babylon and Rainbow Eyes are the two songs that kind of sound okay in the production. So yeah, I think it's an all right album, pretty good. So yeah, that's the end of the Dio era.
Yeah.
Now the
They did a
last,
lot in a short amount of time.
yeah, absolutely. The last album of today is Down to Earth. I'm a huge fan of this album. I love it so
Me
much.
too. Me too. This is a great album.
Yeah,
I
and
can see why Martin calls this his favorite because I mean, you don't necessarily have to be a huge fan of Rainbow to love this album. This is just a good melodic hard rock album for 1979. Like it's just a really listenable album.
yeah, and Graham Bonnet, he screams his ass off on this album. He
Yeah.
really goes really intense in the
I've
in the
always
vocal
been
range.
I've always been fascinated by Graham Bonnet because you look at him and he does not, you don't expect that voice to come out of him when
Yeah,
you see what he looks like, the short hair and the shades. But man, yeah, he's got that raspy voice. Yeah. And he did not have a hard rock background at all.
yeah, and
And yet he went into Rainbow, and then he was with Michael Schenker for a while, then he formed Alcatraz, so he became a hard rock singer, but he wasn't one to begin with.
Yeah. And there's this funny story, you probably know it. I think most Rainbow fans know it. When Graham Bonnet joined the band, he had like short hair, and Ritchie Blackmore was just adamant in telling him, you need to grow out your hair. You need to have long hair. You don't fit on the stage. You don't look like Ronnie Dio or any of the other singers, Ian Gillan, that I've worked with before. So you need to grow out your hair. And then one day, he had like grown out his hair a bit, and then one day he just went to the barbershop, cut his hair, and Richie gave him like this look. He was so angry. So like during the gig that day, he was like standing behind the PA system. So Richie wasn't even on like the front of the stage. He was just facing with his back at the audience, standing behind the PA system. Just really, really showcases who Richie
Being a
Blackmore was, and it's
being a brat, really, if you really want to look at it, like you've got people that paid to see you, like I fight after the show. You know
yeah,
what I mean? I never understood that. You know, he was so, you know, yeah, he was so dramatic like
yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
And
And
that's a
yet, when
very
you think
silly
about
thing
it,
to be angry about, I think.
it's a very silly thing. And yet, Graham pulled it off because I couldn't picture him with long hair.
Yep, yep. And if
He
you've
had his
seen
own thing.
and if you've seen like the Since You've Been Gone video, I think he actually fits with his style and his looks. I think it's all right.
I
And
think the shades help, like, because it gives a
yep,
little bit of air of mystery. I think if he was just standing there, just like a regular guy without the shades, I don't think it would have worked. But it was. I think for one thing, it stood out because it was different,
yep.
and you'd think that Blackmore would have been okay with that. Like, you know what, we're not doing what everybody expects. I think if somebody had come to him and think about it this way, it might have changed his mind a little bit, and then he might have been like, "Don't you dare grow your hair out." I don't know.
And also like Ritchie and the band Rainbow was moving into a more commercial type of uh, thing. So I think this was the start of that, even though there are some pretty heavy songs. There are
Yeah,
also some more commercial type songs, and Since You've Been Gone was like their biggest hit.
yeah.
And but then in the Jolene Turner era, they went even more like pop. And
This is a perfect. I love the fact that the Rainbow catalog is so brief, but you know, Stranger in Us All is kind of its own thing. But you
yeah,
get the three Dio albums, you get the three Joel and Turner albums. This is right in the middle, and it's a good blend of the two. And again, we've got a different lineup. Like now, we've got Roger Glover in the band
yep,
and producing. It's a strong lineup.
yep,
Don Airy on keyboards, who's now in Deep Purple.
yep.
Yeah, it's a good lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first song, All Night Long, I like it very much. I like how the bridge and the verses are kind of more heavy and aggressive. And then when you come to the chorus, it's kind of like a more commercial type pop song. So
Yeah,
so yeah, and I like the background vocals in the chorus too. I think it
yeah.
works very well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you know, it was a big hit in the UK. I think it hit number 5. So obviously it worked. And again, listen to that riff. It's Man on the Silver Mountain. Da 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 da. Like it's
Yeah,
the same, and basically the chorus is Graham is basically singing those chords. So it's very easy, it's very memorable, it's very hooky. Yeah, it's good. It's a good start. It's a good start to the album. And right away, I mean, you can tell. I don't think it would have scared too many people away because I think it was a bigger album than anything that had come before it. But you can tell right away that's a Blackmore riff.
yep,
And so it's not like they've totally changed. So they've still got there's still quite a bit of heaviness there.
yeah. Now I think the next song is a highlight for me, Eyes of the World. I think it's really, really good.
Epic.
I love
Yeah.
the keyboards in the beginning. Also, it's kind of like the same thing as Gates of Babylon, like this kind
It's
of
not that different, really.
menacing,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
creepy start with the keyboards, and then the band kicks in, and yeah, I think Graham sounds really, really good on this song.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely one of my favorites on this album. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's an epic song, and it's probably the closest musically and lyrically to the Dio era.
Very
You
true.
know, it's not Graham wrote different sorts kinds of lyrics, but this one's not that different.
Yep, very true. No Time to Lose is a very fast-paced song, and
Yeah.
also this is a great example of a song where he really screams out his
Oh
vocal,
yeah.
and I think
You
it sounds
hear him,
really good.
you think he's how does he have a voice left after some of these takes, because he's just ripping.
Yeah, and he still sounds good today. He's like near
He's in
his
his well
80s
into
or
his
something, I think.
yeah, and he's I saw a clip of him not long ago, and he sounds good. And it's amazing. It's like, obviously he took care of himself.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Graham Bonnet and Glenn Hughes. They're kind of like the miracles in some
Freaks
way.
of freaks of nature, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And Making Love, I think it's a good song. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know what you'd classify this song as. It's the closest thing on this album to a ballad, but it's not a ballad. I
yeah,
don't know if you know what I mean. It's not just because of the title, but this could almost be like a Bad Company song.
mm,
But yet it's undeniably it's Rainbow
yep,
with the guitars and keyboards.
yep. Now we get to the biggest hit Rainbow ever had, and it's Since You'll Be Gone.
I love it.
And this
This
is
is a song I
a
can't
Russ
get tired
Ballard
of.
song from, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
This is I can't get tired of this song. I love and it's never been done better. It's been done a lot of times,
yeah,
but it's never been done better than this. And I'm so surprised. This was the first time that Rainbow had a song that charted on Billboard, but I think it only got like in the 60s or 50s or something like that. I don't know why. It just they must either they didn't tour over here or it just didn't get promoted, because this could have been a huge hit in 1979. It was in the UK. I think it hit number 6. But I think people know it. I think it gets more airplay now than it did back then, at least in North America.
yep, absolutely. And also recently it was featured in a movie, I think, or something.
It was in one of the Guardians of the Galaxy
Yeah,
movies. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, and I was excited when I heard that. I'm like, good. You know, I hope that younger people hear this in iTunes or Spotify or whatever. Like, it would be really cool if this song became a big hit, the way that Kate Bush Running Up That Hill became a big hit when it was on Stranger Things. Like that, I would love for it to happen to a song like this.
yeah. Because I think this is timeless. I think this is just
Yeah.
such a great song. So
Yeah, it's a short 3-minute song. It's all it needs to be. I love Ritchie's solo at the end of it. I love the key change. Um, I mean, Russ Ballard is a good songwriter, right? So and this is not the last time they would do his songs, but man, do they ever put Graham sounds great on it. It's great. And it's like it's about time that Ritchie'd been doing this for a while. It's about time he had a hit, again,
yeah,
because I mean, Deep Purple got lucky a couple of times, but he wanted to have commercial songs, and this was definitely it. I don't know how it came up on his radar, but a lot of songs that Russ Ballard wrote, he also recorded, but they became bigger hits for other people.
yep, absolutely. Now the next song I absolutely love. Love's No Friend of Mine. I think it's a great song, one of the highlights of the album. I love the
Yeah,
opening riff. I love Graham's voice when he sings "That's All Right" and all that
yeah,
sounds
yeah, love it.
so good. And
Yeah,
yeah, think it's just such a good song. Love it so much.
yeah, yeah. I agree. It's great. To me, like, this album is 8 good songs for out of 8 songs.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I like also that it's more slower paced. This song also,
Yeah.
and
The album's well sequenced, I think.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think Danger Zone is also a song where he really sings his ass off, also screams a lot on this. And
Yeah.
yeah, sounds really good. More fast paced one. I love like the not effect, but the kind of and that's love when he sings that, and he sings
Yeah.
super high. in that part. And
Yeah,
yeah, looking for love is the danger zone and everything like that. I think it's, yeah, it's a really good song.
yeah.
And when he sings like danger zone in the chorus and everything, it just screams so high. So yeah, I think this is like kind of early version of what Ian Gillan did of on Born Again. Now that's probably a jarring comparison to some people, but
No, yeah,
not
he really pushed his vocal to the limit.
in that sense, not in like how it sounds and the compositions of the songs, not in that way, but really how
Just
Ian and both Graham push their voices to the max.
yeah.
So yeah, I think the last song, Lost in Hollywood, kind of strange title, but love the song. I think it's also one of the
It's
best
yeah.
ones.
The title does not fit the song. It's a heavy song. It's fast. It's really fast. For it's a racer of a song, and a really good way to a really good closer because you know yeah Graham only did the one album with Rainbow, but in some ways I'm kind of glad it worked out that way because there's no weak points on this album. It's like anything if he had done a second album with them, I don't see how it would have been this good.
Yep, yep. And I love like the kind of drums in the beginning. You know, it's kind of
Yeah.
similar to Stargazer in some ways. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that part, and I also like the breakdown where you have like the keyboards and everything. The keyboard sounds kind of dated. They sound very 80s, even though this is a 79 album. It's very close to the
Yeah.
80s. And yeah, the keyboard sounds dated, but I still like it. I think it's cool, and it makes like the last part of the song really hit hard because you had that
Yeah.
breakdown.
Oh
So
yeah, no, it's a good use of dynamics because if it was heavy all the way through, it wouldn't have the same effect as when
yep,
you kind of ease off the accelerator a little bit and then towards the end, like, okay, we're going to go out with a bang and it's really going to make an impact.
yep, very true.
I kind of have to do that. Otherwise, you just get hit over the head. It's like it's too much. But they get it really good. They get it right here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think this is a much stronger album than Long Live Rock and Roll, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
I think this
yeah.
is a very good album. I think it's also stronger than most of the Jolene Turner stuff too. I think this is a really, really good album. I think I
There's
would
one
probably say Rising number one, Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow number two, and I think this would be number three for me actually. I think this is a
for me.
really good
There's
album.
one of the Jolene Turner albums that I like it the same or maybe a little more than this one, but yeah, Down to Earth is just fantastic, and it's an album that, like I said, just about any rock fan of 70s, 80s rock would enjoy. There's really nothing not to like about it. I mean, with Graham Bonnet, it was kind of predestined. He did not have a long future in this band, but boy, did he give it all on the one album he did.
Yep. Very true. Very true.